going on, everyone? Welcome back. Another episode of Tactical Ambitions. And today, here with my good friend, Kris. A lot of people know you from the Range 702 here in Las Vegas. So here we are, SHOT Show 2024. Crazy week for you, not only as the woman who runs the Range 702, but dealing with all the SHOT Show craziness, I know. So thank you for taking some time to be here. I really appreciate it. One of the things that is buzzing at SHOT Show this year, the number of new gun owners. And we're seeing a lot more females who are purchasing guns, and we're seeing a lot more in the minority space purchasing weapons. What have you seen over the last, let me say, 24 months as far as the people coming into the range to learn how to shoot? You know, they're new to shooting. They say, hey, maybe I'm thinking about buying a gun. I'm coming here. What demographic shift have you seen?
So we've seen a huge demographic shift, and I think it started in 2020. And then, there was a huge surge at that time. And then the last 24 months, as you say, it's kind of just continued to still rise. And we are absolutely seeing minorities and women. So we, at the range, we do a couple things that bring in new customers. And probably, the two most popular would be the one-on-one safety classes and then the CCW concealed carry classes. And we've seen a huge shift in those. Not only the numbers rising, but also minorities and women, which is great.
Why do you think that is?
So I think there's a general awareness, in Vegas anyway, there's a general awareness that we have to be responsible for our own safety. It's something that's been said in the industry for years. And I think current events are doing a little bit more than just saying it. It's showing it. So we've seen a lot of that. Sadly, I see people come in after an incident where they learn that they're their own first line of defense. So, our job is to try to reach them before that. But here we are. Either way, they're coming in. So
how did you, because I feel like everyone in this space, especially here in Las Vegas, knows who you are. They know your name. They know the Range 702. How did you get into this space to begin with?
Oh, the weirdest way. So I was not a fan of guns. I grew up anytime I was around guns, they were used improperly in a violent way. And so even though I didn't learn gun safety when I was young, I think you just have that innate, it's built inside of you. You see someone using a firearm in an incorrect way and you just know that it's wrong. And so since I didn't have education, I didn't like them. It's where a lot of, I think, the people that are anti-gun that's where I used to be, just uneducated. So I was in a job that was a great job on paper. The people that were around me and the way that corporation worked, I was kind of slowly dying inside, to be quite frank. So it looked like I had a great job. I looked great. I was very sad. And I wasn't taking action, and I was just kind of hoping that something miraculous would come happen and save me, which is a huge character flaw. And all of a sudden, a recruiter reached out to me and said, hey, this range is looking for a sales and marketing director. And, it was a pay cut, and I didn't care. I kind of just took it as a sign, like, hey, this is just supposed to happen.
Okay.
So I did sales and marketing for about a year and a half, and then I took over all operations of the range after that. And kind of simultaneously to all of that happen, I had a kind of like ex-family member come after me. So while this was happening, I was kind of like, okay, cool, guns are okay, but I don't need to own them. Everything is fine. And then suddenly I had a very urgent need to protect myself. So while I was in that first year and a half, 2 years, that happened. So then I started training myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you grow up here?
I did not, no. So I grew up in Minneapolis.
Okay.
Mostly.
And when did you end up here in Vegas?
About 10 years ago now.
Okay.
So I only worked outside of the range for a couple years.
Okay.
Before coming here.
So you shared earlier an incident that you were personally involved in that happened to be at a Wendy's, wasn't getting the food for herself. And that's something that is one of those things, and I'm going to let you share it if you don't mind,
Yeah.
that people would say, that's never going to happen to me. But here you are just picking up food. And can you just kind of go over what happened?
Yeah. So, I mean, the incident, long story short, I was at a drive-through and a gentleman tried to rob me, and I did draw my firearm. I did not have to use it. Everyone left the event uninjured. And he did have a weapon as well. So if I was without a firearm, there could have been injury. The police came, everything was fine. Wasn't a big deal because I was able to protect myself.
Yeah.
Having the job and access to people that I do in the city, I don't think a lot of people in this city anyway would share that feeling of that's never going to happen to me. I was in a decent neighborhood. Mm-hmm. It was like 6:30 at night.
Yeah, it wasn't 1 a.m. in the hood.
No, nothing crazy was happening. And this city, in the last 3 or 4 years, we've seen a huge change. And I think that's why my business is kind of taking off without as much effort as it should be, because there's a need and there are issues.
So I know that in certain cities across the country, we're seeing a big spike in violent crime, big spike in carjackings. What's the mood here in Vegas? Because I'm outside of the city. I don't know when I come to Nevada, I'm outside of this Las Vegas Strip area. So what's the mood? Do people feel like crime is on the rise? Are
Absolutely.
people scared?
People feel like crime is on the rise, and also crime is on the rise. So it's both of those things. Both of those things are happening. And I mean, the things I hear from customers all day long are either something happened to them, something happened to their neighbor, something happened to their friend. So these are reasons why. I had a few weeks ago, I had a group of mothers that attend my children's school all come in and get their concealed carry permit because they all lived in the same neighborhood, and their neighborhood, like 4 houses were robbed in the same evening, and they were all kind of just like, oh my gosh, like the time is now. So there's definitely this feeling and of just kind of uncertainty. Mm-hmm. And what's great is that when you feel that uncertainty, the great thing to do is to train.
Yeah.
So that's
sure.
that's a kind of good news, is that people are at least headed in the right direction.
Yeah. When you look at things like home invasions and burglaries and even things when you're in your vehicle, what are some of the things that people should know if they're considering buying a weapon? We have a lot of people who are coming to us right now at 221B Tactical, and they're saying, hey, I'm a little nervous. I feel like something's up. I feel like something's on the cusp of happening. I'm not sure. Uneasy. Want to get some stuff for in my home to protect my family. We're not gun people. We don't own guns, but we want to just be prepared. So we have some kits we're putting together for people, first aid stuff and other stuff. But for the people who are looking to get some protection for their home and where it's legal, have some protection on their person while they're in their vehicle, what would you recommend as far as making the entree into that world? Would you recommend going to a place like 702, trying a few different firearms, seeing what they like, seeing, what's the lessons before you buy, or buy and then lessons? What you have more in-depth knowledge on this. What would you recommend for the person watching that's completely new to this, but is thinking, I'm a little uneasy, I'm thinking about this? What would you recommend to that person?
Well, I have a very specific recommendation, because that, to me, I had to I saw this huge need, but there's no path. As a community, we don't give someone like, here's how to get into this. And I actually didn't know the answer to that question. Years ago, when the first, in 2020, when that was that first surge, I'm seeing all these new people come in, and they're not ready. They're not ready. Especially, we're not ready. And I kind of had like an aha moment, one of those first days of the, gun buying rush, where I was like, wait, I can do this legally. Morally, I cannot do this.
Yeah.
I cannot send these people home without, so what we started doing, we started doing one-on-one classes, and it's, of course, it took us a long time to kind of come up with this perfect solution that we have now. But what we do, and what I honestly really urge other, FFLs and other gun stores and companies to do, is to kind of create something to walk someone through that. Because when somebody wants to do that, they're already terrified. You're already not in a good place to be like, oh, wait, I think I need to buy a gun. It's never never a good time happened prior to that.
Yeah.
Now you're going to walk into a whole new place that you've never been into. So now you're scared. Now you're uncomfortable. You're confused. So these people are kind of in this very vulnerable place. Mm-hmm. So I think it's our job to lay the path out for them. And a lot of times, we don't know, and we all blank stare at each other and like nothing happens kind of thing. So we kind of took the responsibility of making a very clear path for these people. And so what we do is we say, come in and take a one-on-one class. Mm-hmm. And we do one-on-one because there's so many, it's great taking like an intro to handguns class, but I really think you need that one-on-one attention first before you're even ready for that class. Learn the 4 firearm safety, just learn basic stuff. You should wear your eyes and ears all the time. Like just super, super basic stuff. Help them walk through that stuff so they really have a good understanding instead of just kind of rattling it off in a classroom setting. They also build a connection with their instructor. Mm-hmm. So I would say it has to be like 60-70% of our people that take those one-on-one classes end up coming back and taking more classes with that same instructor. Okay. And then they use that instructor to help them buy a gun, use that instructor to help them do all these other things. So they become this long-term customer with us and they have a go-to person. They never feel stupid to ask a question. Yeah. They always go, oh, it's fine. I'm going to call so-and-so. I know. And so we kind of start creating that community, which is so important. But in that one-on-one class, another thing we do is we have a multitude of handguns. So we have, anywhere from 5 to 10 handguns, and the instructor will work with that person to figure out what handgun works for them based on, we have long guns as well, but we work to figure out which firearm do you need? Why do you need a firearm? What kind of house do you have? Are you going to carry it? Are you going to what are you going to do with it? Yeah. And we help them pick that out. So eventually it also is a firearm sale for us.
Yeah, of course.
But it's really like walking them through that whole thing and making them comfortable, helping with them with all of those things. And for us, the answer was just one-on-one classes. Okay. It's what works for us. So we do that. It ends up being a gun sale. It ends up being range time, more classes, getting your CCW. Then we make you a holster. But I think that, the path is a little different for each person. But I think that like one-on-one attention is really, really important at the beginning of that.
Yeah. And like you said, that comfort, bringing them in and not making people feel stupid, or they're for some people there might be some shame in just going into that world because they might have friends or family that are saying, what do you mean you're going to get a gun? You're going to carry a gun? What are you thinking about? So I know people who have gone and gotten their concealed carry and have gone and taken some lessons and haven't told anyone. Yeah, because they're almost ashamed or embarrassed to tell their friends and family that they're learning how to shoot a gun, or they want to buy a gun, they want to carry a gun, they're afraid. Right. When you look at, especially in the female demographic, you have a lot of groups that come and train. Mm-hmm. How is that who's putting that together?
For female specifically, I would say a lot of times it's friends, and that's kind of like it's a good moment for us to realize too, like, hey, these women, why do these women need to come with all their friends? Like,
yeah, I've seen that multiple times.
Because they're not comfortable.
I've seen that so many times.
Yeah, and I experienced that coming into this. I experienced coming into the industry as an employee, as someone who's just like, working, and then also as somebody who decided to carry. I remember, the beginning was rough. Like, I don't look like someone who would work in the 2A community. I don't know if you've ever talked to anybody in this community. They're not really like the softest people all the time. No. So, for me, it's not that big of a deal because I have no feelings, but like most humans have feelings. Yeah. So I think, it's great. Like, we should just want to be nice and take care of these people. But also, if we want to run businesses and make money, we should do that too. It's it goes both ways. And we should never kind of make these people feel uncomfortable. So it's a red flag when you see that people don't feel comfortable coming into your place without a friend. Yeah. That's like a good lesson for us if we see that. So
yeah, I've talked to a few different women now who've come in with a group to get their CCW, and they've said that the experience that they had at your range was completely different than anywhere else they were. What do you do to bring that comfort? I know you have a great staff, but how do you make that experience memorable for them?
So this comes to my former life. So I used to work for Cirque du Soleil. It's a huge circus kind of company. And something that was kind of ingrained into me. I used to work, I worked there a long time ago when Guy Laliberté, who's the founder of that company, used to work there. And he admonished me when I was quite young and new at that job in such a kind way, and also a very serious way. And I corrected myself immediately. And to this day, I take his words very seriously. So I, at that moment, was in charge of ushers that were scanning tickets on the way in. Okay. So my job was to get these 6 ushers to scan 3,000 people, in a very short amount of time. And I was super stressed. And I was relaying and laying my stress onto my staff, and they in turn were super stressed. And he came out, he kind of watched or something, I don't know, the show started, he came out and he told me, you need to make sure your staff makes people feel a certain way because the show starts right here. It doesn't start in there. And he kind of let me know that my stress was fucking his whole show up, no pressure. So I have really taken that into consideration for my whole life. And I, bring a little bit of circus sparkle, I guess, to the gun industry. Because that's real. I mean, you go talk to my staff. If you walk through those front doors, Suresh, and one person, 2, 3, 4 people don't smile and say hi to you within 30, not 30 seconds, within 5 seconds.
Yeah. There's
going to be a problem. There's going to be a problem. And that's because that's what I tell them. I go, the second they walk in the store, we have to make them feel so happy.
Yeah.
We have to make them feel so happy. They have to be craving that dopamine hit to come back. And it's from us starting the show right there. And so that's kind of the way, I've kept that my whole life through every single job I've ever had. And I think it's, if you want to relate to your customers and make them want to come back, I think that's something that every business owner should consider. Yeah,
100%. Do you do the hiring there?
Yes.
So what are you looking for?
I just look for the right person. I do care about experience. If a gunsmith does have to know how to gunsmith.
Right.
And I'll tell you, I've hired one of my gunsmiths right now. I hired him when he was 17 and he had never shot a gun before.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
4 or 5 years later, he's just an excellent gunsmith.
Okay.
But he was the right person. It was his character, his work ethic, the way he respects people. Our team has to flawlessly be able to work like a well-oiled machine. We do things that, our people don't do, especially during F1 in a couple weeks during the Super Bowl. We're going to service an insane amount of people so quickly in such a perfect way. So to kind of ask these people to do, the so-called impossible all the time over and over again, it has to be the right kind of person.
Yes.
So there's a dynamic. I spend a ton of time and energy on the dynamic of the team.
Okay.
And then that allows them to kind of blossom in their correct way, and they can do their jobs right because they're not being held back with, whatever kind of drama or problems.
It's one of the few places I see today in 2024 where I walk in and it truly feels like everyone enjoys working there. I feel like we're in this time in our society where most places you go, especially businesses, the people you're dealing with seem like they simply just don't give a shit about you.
Right.
And they're just not interested in what they're doing, their job, their service to you, anything.
Right.
And whether it be airlines, whether it be restaurants, whatever. So it's really refreshing to walk in somewhere and to see people who, they look like they're happy to be here.
Right.
And they are having a good time. They are being helpful. They're smiling and asking, do you need help? Even people who have to do maybe more trivial tasks, I see them doing it with joy. And that's not common at all. So whatever you're doing or whatever the indicators you're looking for the people you're hiring, you're doing something right because that is almost unheard of these days. So that's great. Now, when you look at people who are going back to the home defense, what would you recommend just for the general person who is maybe just a little fearful and wants to have a little something? What's something you recommend for home defense?
When it comes to an actual which firearm, that kind of goes back to the one-on-one classes. I don't have a firearm that I'm this is the one.
Yeah.
But I know there's a lot of misconceptions out there. We get all the time. I mean, you are in Vegas, you know how the houses are here, and we get all the time people going, okay, I'm getting a shotgun for home defense. And I'm like, for your farm? Like,
Right. Right.
So I think like the one-on-one and kind of getting people to like understand, where they are, how they're going to use it, who's using it, where it's getting locked up. Like there's so many different things. So I think kind of having that conversation with someone is just super important.
Yeah.
Like who's in the house?
Children in the house.
How are you going to store it?
Yeah.
Whereas like those are all things that we just all kind of have to think about.
So let's talk about when you are now a firearms owner. You went through the course, you maybe had your training. How often do you think people need to or should train with a firearm? Because I think a lot of people maybe get their firearm and take a couple of lessons.
Yeah.
And then they're kind of out of it because it's maybe they put their gun away in the safe and it's out of sight, out of mind. How often should the regular citizen who owns a weapon be at the range training with it?
I mean, it's a personal decision, but so one of my friends, we were in the range one time and his kid shot like pretty well, but missed a shot. And so he looked at his kid and said, well, that's okay. You just killed, Aunt Betsy. No problem. And I steal that. And like, I heard him say that. And I was like, that's really mean. And then I was like, that's what happened though. It's also really real. So I kind of say that to people when they ask me that. I'm like, well, it just depends if you're like comfortable shooting a bystander or not. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, it's a hard question. Like, we should all go to the gym every day. We should
the gym every day.
We should all go to the gym every day. We should all eat perfect every day. Make sure to stay hydrated. I'm not hydrated today.
Me neither.
I should be. And we should all go train every day. But it's kind of, you have to work that into your life. But also, you have to take it seriously.
Yeah.
I think like if we don't go to the gym every day, everyone's going to see that. If we don't train every day, nobody will see that, and they can just assume, that we can do it. So, I take it so seriously to carry a firearm. Like, that's a heavy weight for me.
Yeah.
I'm actually like a calmer person. I control my emotions better when I have a firearm. Like,
all of it. Yeah.
100%. So I think kind of getting people to get into that mindset is the most important thing.
Okay.
But I tell people when they're in their CCW, I just kind of, I always go into class and say, thank them for coming and whatever, answer their questions, welcome everyone. And then I'm also so excited to get to know you all more because I'm going to see you every couple weeks.
Yes.
Like, that's so great.
Yeah, right.
That's wonderful. Like, you guys are going to see me all the time. This is amazing. So I kind of like set that expectation to them. Like, hey, it's not just about, getting your CCW and then carrying this gun around. That's not going to help you. It's not going to save you. And we get it all the time. We get people come back for the renewals, which is 5 years. And they go, yeah, I haven't shot since all the time.
See, that's crazy.
They receive an admonishment.
That is crazy. 5 years?
All the time.
Really?
And we get armed guards. This is another thing, too. We get armed guards. They have to requalify every 6 months. Mm-hmm. All the time. Oh, I haven't shot since my last requal. Which to me is insane.
Well, I saw that at the police department. We saw it all the time at the police department. If you had to qualify twice a year. And outside of that, most cops never fired a gun. I was at the range every couple of weeks.
I don't think I could carry a fire. Like, I've had times where I've gone a week and I feel like an irresponsible, person.
Yeah. You're
I'm feeling guilty carrying this gun around. I'm like, I got to get in there immediately and just make sure I'm still sharp.
Yeah, you're carrying a deadly weapon.
It's a very serious thing.
So, when you look at the state of our union right now, and for whatever reason we see these spikes in crime and all this stuff going on, we're not going to go down the road of why some of these people are committing these crimes, only because there's no prosecution, so there's no punishment, things like that. But what is something you can tell to the average everyday person who is a little concerned about what's going on? They're not sure what's happening here. And what's one bit of parting advice as someone who is not only well versed in the firearms community, but I think just from the defense community standpoint, you are someone who I look at as, well, first of all, knowing you, I know I would never screw with you. But it's the way you carry yourself. It's the confidence you exude. Carrying a firearm or not, especially when it comes to females and young kids. I mean, I see so many young kids, they're just walking through parking lots and stuff like this all day long. What are some of the tips you can provide that, you would say, hey, listen, if you do nothing at all, do this?
Okay, I'm gonna give you two things. It's not just me one. The first one is just situational awareness. I feel like it's so frustrating to me. I've been in so many situations where you can just kind of see what's happening and make a couple of right moves and completely avoid issues altogether. Yeah. Just putting your focus on what's around you instead of, just in your phone or whatever. But learning how to be situationally aware and be like kind of adopting that into your head will make you kind of do that without even thinking. Mm-hmm. I don't walk into a room and think like, okay, I just naturally do it. Yes. It's something that's like as easy as breathing at this point. So train yourself to be situationally aware. It's not that hard. And then the second thing is stop waiting till there's an incident. So many times, I can't tell you, a week does not go by that I don't have, most of the time it's a woman with a swollen face coming in, crying, already in a horrible situation, terrified to shoot a gun. It's just the worst situation. I see it all the time. And, it's not just women. It's really everyone. They wait till the situation happens and then they go, oh, now I need to make this correction. But now you're already in this horrible situation because of that incident that just happened. You're physically and emotionally in a horrible place. Not the best time to try to do this stuff. Yeah. So stop waiting. Like that's my big message to people. Stop waiting. You get your training. So then if something happens, it's not nearly as bad as what it could have been. Or nothing ever happens.
Yeah, right.
But there's no risk. Yeah. You've lost nothing. Yeah. So it frustrates me that it's this absolutely no risk, super high reward. Yeah. And yet people aren't doing it. It's super frustrating.
Yeah, prevent the event, do the work now, or take a little action now to prevent the traumatic event from ever even occurring.
Right, exactly.
So instead of coming in out, like you said, bruised and battered after the
fact. It's heartbreaking. Yeah. It's heartbreaking watching this stuff. It's just, it's horrible. I don't want to see that happen to anyone, so stop waiting.
No, I think that's great. I want to shift gears a little bit for some of the people who are listening and watching from another viewpoint. And I want to end on this. The marketing, whether social media marketing videos that we see from you and 702 are always entertaining, always engaging. And it's very different from what we see. You're taking something that people would look at as, oh, this is serious, gun range. And you're doing great entertaining videos. And I think the marketing for the range itself has been phenomenal, and you're spearheading that. Is that something intentional you're doing so people see this as a serious place, but a fun place? And some of the antics that you see in some of the videos, which I love watching. What's the mindset around that? Because you've grown its popularity so much, and it's hard to talk to anyone around here or even outside of Las Vegas about and not know 702. What was your mindset around creating that?
So there's it's kind of like a puzzle. There's a few things that go into it. The first thing is that to be on social media is difficult for our community because, everything that I do and promote, I cannot show. So it was kind of created because I was forced to be creative. And then I kind of sat down and said, what's our brand and who am I speaking to? And I think this is something, my content is so different from everyone else's in the 2A community. I receive a ton of criticism, and I don't give a fuck because I also receive a ton of revenue. So, yep. And I also think that, there is a huge place in the 2A community for cool tactical stuff. Mm-hmm. And the average person who is going to buy a gun is not going to have all that cool tactical stuff. And we really don't have, there's this hole of, we don't have anyone that's just going to connect with someone. Yeah. So, even I'll tell you, I look at this, there's an overabundance of cool tactical content out there. It's just, there's so much. Yeah. There's hundreds and hundreds of creators that do it, thousands. I don't even know. I don't connect with any of those people. And my clients don't connect with any of those people either. So I do think there's a place for it. Yeah. I don't think it's wrong. I think it's great. I also just think our message doesn't have to be this one way, very narrow street. Yeah. And for me, what works for me is to connect with my clients. And my clients most of them have never shot a gun before. So I'm not going to connect with them by being cool and tactical and hard ass. What I am going to connect with them with making a stupid joke, having them realize, I'm human, I relate to her, and also they can help me with this.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the strategy, summarized quickly. But also, it's my employees like doing it. Like, it's a fun time for us. It started as something where it was like uncomfortable and we were like outside of our comfort zone and pushing boundaries. And now it's kind of turned into like a funny thing. And, I involve customers and we do like, it's grown to this like cool thing. But I do think that, more people in the 2A community just branching out, not necessarily doing exactly what I'm doing, but I think there's all this space that we haven't gotten into because we're a little closed-minded, or because we're a little bit competitive within ourselves too.
Yeah.
I mean, I receive a ton of criticism in the 2A community because I'm not like cool and tactical. But that's not my goal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
you're looking to make a place that is a little bit more comfortable for someone to walk in.
Right.
Yeah. Especially someone outside the SHOT Show, 5'11" pant and beard and tattoo dude, right?
Yeah.
I get that.
I mean, it's exactly what you said at the beginning of this. Who are these new people coming in? Who's talking to them?
Yeah.
Is it like there's not many people talking to them?
Yeah.
So I think that there's like kind of a hole when it comes to that and space for us to grow as a community.
Yeah. Awesome. So how do people learn more about 702, and if you please, how do they learn more about Kris Chanski?
Yeah, I mean, the easy place to start is just to follow us on social media. It's Kris_Chanski or the Range 702 on every social media outlet you could ever imagine. That's the first thing. Anybody in Vegas, obviously, we love to have people come down and visit us. We love it.
Yeah.
This week, we're not busy as far as like running packages and getting new customers, but we're busy just with people in the industry stopping by and tours and all that kind of stuff. So we love it. So just come see us if that's possible.
And you're getting ready for a real busy week.
Woo!
So,
Super Bowl. Oh my gosh. I know.
That's
exciting.
If anyone can handle it, you can handle it.
Yeah, we're excited.
Kris, thank you so much for your time. I know you're a busy woman.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone who watched. I'm going to put all the information for Kris 702 and all things that you need because they're TikTok though.
Oh.
The TikTok though. Oh my goodness. You got to check it out. So I'll put all that there. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.